for sure. I think a couple things in regards to Rhys. I think if you look at both of those two games back to back, that's sort of indicative of how he's been. Where there's been some stuff that's like awful, bad, but there's also been stuff that's really good, and we've all seen the really good in practice. Started to see that last week in the game in Minnesota. There's no question that he, and along with his teammates in the punt unit, were a factor in the game in controlling field position. I thought he had an excellent game, his best game to date. That's more like what we've seen in practice. So we're striving for consistency. As far as like leading up to that week in Minnesota, coming off the Troy week, he knew it wasn't his best game. He knew that he had some errant punts in there, and one that cost us a touchdown. To be frank with you, I was a little bit shocked. I've never seen that here. We haven't given one up like that. I had to look it up. I told the kids I've never in my life seen it at Iowa, and I looked it up. It was 2015. Christian McCaffrey gave one up. But my point is, it wasn't just him in that either. Our coverage is not good. They all heard that pretty pointedly from me at halftime, and also the next day on Sunday. And kind of an aside, one of the things I think that's interesting, we have these iPads on the sideline now. It's probably like a player's worst nightmare because kids will always tell you, like, kickoff coverage, Coach, I got double, and the other guy says, I got double, and all you guys can't get double. There's only 11 guys on the field, but then you get to the sideline, you immediately see what happened as a coach, and then it's not the best for players sometimes because they see it differently on the field, right? Because they're playing. But overall, in regards to that, I think he had a really good week leading up to Minnesota. And also, I feel like some of the things, the focal points were being the aggressor, being on the attack, throwing the first punch, not waiting 2 or 3 punts and taking punches in the face, and then I'm going to go punt the ball. So that was a focal point. I think he responded well, and the unit responded well, and had a great day.
Scott.
Yeah, Scott Dockerman from The Athletic. I wanted to ask you about Drew Stevens. You guys have lacked for confidence at all, but last year it seemed like he was a little bit humbled by the way the season ended, and yet he's come out really strong, hasn't missed a kick yet this year. In what ways did he make strides? Was it between the ears? Was it his consistency, or how has he been able to take that step forward?
I think all the above is what he's improved upon. You use the word confidence. I think Drew had confidence last year. I think it was false confidence. I think he would be one of the first to tell you that last year. I think we talk about in our room about confidence being a feeling, an emotion, right? Whereas conviction is like it. There's no other way to see it than you're convicted in what you're doing. I think Drew now is convicted with what he's doing. He's convicted with his routine in practice. He's convicted with his routine away from the building. He's much more mature, much clearer head. He's actually reading now, which I never thought I'd get Drew Stevens to read, but he's reading. I'm sure his mom will be pleased to hear that. It's probably a page or 2 a day, but he's working on it, and I think that's helped him, right? You talked about, is it between the ears? A lot of it for Drew is between the ears, and I've just seen this kid grow and mature every single day. And Coach referenced it the other day. I'm like, man, this kid he's playing lights out right now. And I think he's quiet. I think he's very quiet. I'm glad you noticed it, because on the national scope, I think it's very quiet. But I think there's a tiger in there getting ready to let loose, and we've all seen it in practice, and we're excited to be around him. And not to mention, he has really good setup, man, with his snapper Luke Elkin, who's drastically improved from last year. Makes the operation much cleaner. Ty Nissen is the holder for him. That's been better. The protection's been better. So all across the board, I think from field goal standpoint, it's been better. Drew's kicking off very well right now too, which again doesn't always get noticed or seen. Everyone's looking for the tackle, but he's kicking off very well.
Adam Jacoby, Hawkeye Bacon, thanks for your time today. When you've got a guy like TJ Hall, who had a couple hiccups on defense against Troy, and then he had that penalty on punt return for you guys last Saturday, how do you make sure that you're upholding the extremely high standards of how special teams ought to operate, while still making sure that his confidence stays up for the next week and the next time that you're going to be asking him to do something in a competitive game?
Yeah, I think if you talk about TJ in particular, I'm a big TJ Hall fan. I'm a believer in TJ Hall both as a special teams player and a defensive player. I don't know what Phil said earlier, but I know he believes in him as well. TJ's a young guy, young player, and my message to him was like, man, I believe in you. I've seen you do it on special teams. I've seen you do it. I wouldn't put you in the game. A year ago, before he got injured, he was one of our best one of our best gunners, one of our best corners in punt return. And so we've all seen him do that. You know, now he transitions, he's got a role on defense, it's a little bit more involved on defense, and then I'm asking him to play special teams too. It's a lot for a young guy. So I think, you know, just over the course of time, believing in the young man and letting him work through some of the difficulties and just keep coaching him and keep believing in him. And, you know, again, I'm a big TJ Hall fan, so he's an awesome young man. He's got a great head on his shoulders, got a great future in both special teams and on defense, and just keep believing and keep working with him.
Mitch at KJ, I'm just wondering about Devin Hillson's special teams journey. It feels like it's just a matter of time if he snatches it on a 100 split or something like that. He's been so close to me.
Yeah, no, it's fun working with Devin. You know, he hasn't played on offense or defense yet, to my knowledge, that I can think of. But from a special team standpoint, he's done really well for us. And again, you talk about quietly, doesn't get the stats. Sometimes, you know, you watch our kickoff coverage. He's not the guy making the tackle, but everybody knows where number 20 is. He's disrupting the whole return, and you have to account for him all the time. It's no different than punt block. You have to account for the guy, even if he's not getting home and not blocking the punt. But been happy with him, been pleased with him. I think this is something that he can really do and do well for us here. We had a visitor in camp named Scott Pioli, who was here talking about a guy at New England Patriots that they had with my God, I'm losing Matthew Slater, who made a living playing special teams, and he has one career catch to his name in college and in pro football. Like, that stuff's out there for guys that they really want to do it, and they really focus on, they really commit to it. So I think Devin could, you know, has some of those characteristics. I'm not calling him Matthew, I'm not calling him a Hall of Famer yet, but again, those are the things that I want guys like Devin thinking about, because you can still make an impact on this football team, even though if you're not playing defense or playing offense or scoring touchdowns that way.